I'm going to turn this over to speakers who do better than I. And our first is Kitty Piercy, the mayor, who has been very courageous in coming out and vocally supporting this. Thank you.
I think the people who are courageous are the people who looked at the situation of our schools and who said, yes, we've been taking losses year after year after year after year, and we really feel we've gotten to a point where what we're being asked to do without gets to be untenable, where we really get to the point where we feel like our kids aren't getting the kind of education they need to be successful, and therefore they wouldn't be asking if they weren't desperate. That's what it says over here. Some parents came, some family, people in the community came to me and said, we just can't keep on bleeding like this. We've got to do something about it. Is there anything that the city can help with? And George Brown, Councilor Brown, who's here, and I and others started talking about it. I thought the best thing that I could do is create a forum to have a discussion with the community about what we might be able to do about it. So we had a forum that was very well attended. People were pretty clear that they wanted to do something locally. We talked about the options of what we could do locally. And then we took it to council, and council deliberated on it and decided that, yes, we would ask the community if they wanted to step up to a temporary, targeted, progressive income tax, local income tax. So we're just about to send it out the door, and that's what this occasion is about today. As mayor of Eugene, what I'd like to say is, I think all of us feel like there's nothing more important than our kids, right? Yeah. And right after that, there's nothing more important than having a good public school system where all our kids have the opportunity to be prepared for a good future. And if we keep taking away from our public school system, we may end up with not having one that can prepare our kids for the future. I felt, and many people felt, like we're at a sort of a crisis point. We look to the state for the real resolution of the funding issues for the state of Oregon. But in the meantime, this good community said, let's see what we can do together to bridge the gap, to hold back the bleeding, to stop losing and take care of our kids. So they came up with Strong Schools, Strong Eugene. And in fact, economists have spoken to us and written to us and said to us, you know what, it is about our kids and their future, but it's also about our city and our local economy. And it can't be successful if we don't have good schools. So.
And then finally, I would like to read a statement from State Representative Phil Barnhart, who could not be here today because of his responsibilities in Salem. Many people think that the solution for school funding should be left to the state of Oregon. But Representative Barnhart, who is co-chair of the Finance Committee, speaks to that issue when he says, and I quote, "Schools in Oregon have always been primarily supported by local taxes and managed by local school boards. With the tax cuts that were adopted in the 1990s, the legislature tried and failed to make up the loss. We cannot depend on the state to take care of Eugene students when it cannot adequately fund even statewide responsibilities like universities and health care for the poor. Strong schools are essential to the success of Eugene's children and our local economy. In May, we will have the opportunity to support our students and our economy by supporting this measure. Work hard, knock on doors, contribute, and talk to your friends. We have the privilege of providing a better education for our kids. Let's do it. Vote yes for strong schools on May 17th. End quote from Representative Barnhart.
I employ 43 people at Palo Alto Software. We've hired about 20 people in the last 2 years, and we're growing and we want to hire more people. And it is a question that we get when we are recruiting top talent. They want to know, what is Eugene like? You know, what are the neighborhoods like? What are the schools like? And they're comparing us, and they're looking us up on websites, and they're grading us, and that is a big way that, you know, people we're recruiting are deciding whether they're going to move to Eugene if they happen to have families. And as I look to the future and I look to what the schools will be if we don't do something, I think Mayor Piercy really said it. We're in crisis. This is not the ideal situation to be in. Nobody wants a tax. Nobody wants to be in this situation, but we can't wait for somebody else to make it better. We can't wait for the state to make it better. In 4 or 5 years, our schools are going to be in dismal state. And people who say that this tax is going to make people move out of Eugene, just wait what happens in 4 or 5 years if our schools are in the state they're going to be in, because people will move out of Eugene.
We're here today because we're going through the deepest economic crisis in our country since the Great Depression. These are extraordinary times. These are times that demand that responsible adults respond to the needs of their children and their communities. That's why we are here. The responsible adults in the community have responded in past years to save Eugene kids from the worst damage in the schools. The federal government last year helped all of the states, including Oregon, make ends meet as revenues plummeted. But those federal dollars are not available to our state this year. But our state's income is still way, way down. The crisis for schools and kids is still on. These are extraordinary times. There's nothing left to give up if we want a decent educational opportunity for our children. We've lost so much already. During the years I've been a teacher, I was a teacher before Measure 5 and since it became law in 1990. Since then, we have experienced years of loss of programs and people, school nurses, counselors, shop programs, elective programs, loss of foreign language programs, art programs, music programs. We've experienced a number of years of teachers taking wage cuts, having their wages frozen, and increasing their monthly contributions to insurance. We've experienced regular increases in class size. This is the toughest. For those who think it makes a little difference, I'm here to tell you that ratios matter. Think of what happens if you go into a big home improvement store and they only have 1 or 2 staff members available to help you. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Do you get the best level of service? Do you wind up wandering around trying to figure it out on your own? Ratios matter. Do you think many private schools that wealthy families send their kids to have 38 students in a class? No. There are half that many kids in those classrooms because student-to-teacher ratios matter. In those classrooms, the parents know their kids will have assistance when they need it. They don't have to wander around the store trying to figure it out on their own. There's an economic crisis going on that was not caused by 8-year-old kids. Their parents didn't cause it. School bus drivers didn't cause it. Kindergarten teachers didn't cause it. These are extraordinary times. These are times when history compels responsible adults to help the next generation of students in their community to have a decent education. It is up to all of us to rise to the occasion. We must vote yes in May. Thank you for being here.
In the last 3 years alone, 4J has cut $30 million from its budget, and with those cuts, we've had increased class sizes and reduced instructional days, and that's not acceptable. So I'm voting yes for schools because it's good for kids. We need to restore those instructional days, and we need to hold the line on class size so that we can continue to say that we've got world-class schools for all of our kids. Instructional days matter, and ratios matter, and class size matters. So, but I want to make sure that we do hold the line because we can't do it by ourselves. We need to team up together. It takes strength. It takes courage for us to band together and hold the line. So let's defend Eugene. and let's hold the line on school days and class size. Join me on voting yes for strong schools.
Because of the teachers at Meadowview, I became a successful student. But even then, I still needed some work. I was still really shy. And it was the staff at Willamette High School that really brought that out of me. They saw that I wanted to do something that mattered, and they gave me the opportunities to do that. They offered me to be involved in programs like STARS and Transition Crew, and I can proudly say that today I'm the student representative on the Bethel School Board.
We can make sure that our children get the education they deserve. Working together, we can make sure that our Eugene remains a great city with great schools that businesses and the university highlight when they recruit new employees. Working together, we can pass this modest temporary measure on May 17th for the sake of our children.